Alright, Hamster, guess what? We actually get to review the newest Final Fantasy game. 16? Of course not. No, I'm talking about Crisis Core Reunion. That's just a remaster of a 2007 PSP game. Plus, it came out in December of last year. It's still the newest Final Fantasy. Why would you even say it like that? I never get to be relevant. You do realize the industry tends to consider games even a month old to be outdated? But it just came out. Welcome to our retro review channel. Stop stalling, you're gonna make this video even more outdated. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will be excavating a video game originally released for the Sony PSP, otherwise known as the Precambrian Superannuated Player. If I can remember it, then it's not old. Those are the rules. I'm gonna warn you up front, there is no discussing Crisis Core without spoiling a large part of Final Fantasy VII. I'd say either play it yourself or watch our review of the remake, shameless plug, but that's only part 1 and it doesn't cover up to the big plot twist thing that Crisis Core assumes you know, and the rest of the story isn't even out yet, so either hunt down the original or accept the spoilers. Or get lost. Yeah, basically. We're gonna do our best to keep it tame, but you've been warned. Anyway, I didn't really care much for Crisis Core. What? Hey, it's cool enough seeing more from the world of Final Fantasy VII, considering Square apparently believes that it's a series in and of itself with all the spin-offs and attention it's gotten over the years. Gameplay's kinda wonky and the story is an absolute train wreck. To be fair, I liked it, but yeah, it feels kinda weird putting up a spoiler warning for one of the worst written stories in the medium. And he's the positive gamer, so you know we're in for a doozy this time. He calls me old and then unironically says doozy. Can we hurry this up so I can get back to reviewing NES games? Yes, dear. So Crisis Core is an action RPG originally released for the PSP in 2008 in the West and 2007 in Japan. Now, if you can remember all the way back to December of 2022, a spruced up remaster was released for modern platforms, further subtitled Reunion. The game was re-released to help fill the gap between Final Fantasy VII Remake installments and modernize its look and feel to match those games, which it does surprisingly well on the Nintendo Switch. Now, they did add a lot of welcome stuff like better camera control and a new battle stance for the Buster Sword, but most of the work went into the visuals, considering the original, you know, looked like a PSP game. Yeah, something like that. So forget everything you know and expect from a Final Fantasy game, and instead prepare for short bursts of mission-based action combat akin to Monster Hunter Freedom Unite or Metal Gear Peace Walker. Why did so many PSP games ditch their old formulas in favor of this new mission format? Did they honestly think people would exclusively play it only in short bursts? It's not like Nintendo hadn't been proving the market was there for full-blown portable games for over a decade or anything. Regardless, you do get some spillover from base Final Fantasy VII, like materia and accessories and summons, but the real selling point of the game was taking it into the realm of action-based combat and away from the ATB system. Even though you technically still have turns, they just come really fast and might as well not even be there. However, just like Nintendo, they decided to add a huge gimmick to the gameplay that we would never see again, the DMW, or the Digital Mind Wave. I'm honestly shocked they left this in the remaster, considering how stupid this idea is in practice. So randomly in combat, and I do mean randomly, Zack's magical brain roulette wheel will start to spin, and if it lands on 3 of the same character or summon, he will get some extra powerful attack or effect relating to them. Now, this doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but when your survival in a battle comes down to sheer dumb luck, it can get pretty frustrating. Sometimes you'll absolutely slaughter enemies and bosses with OP attacks and buffs constantly, and others you'll slam your head against a wall attempt after attempt just because your stupid brain slots won't land on anything useful. You could be performing perfectly with great attacks and dodges, but if those ridiculous slots don't land, then you're out of luck. And the remaster, get this, gives you the courtesy of choosing when to activate this super powerful attack, heal, or summon, since the original just unleashed it immediately, not giving you the chance to strategize in any way. The slots even determine when you level up. You do have a hidden XP meter, but all it does is just increase your chance of leveling up. What absolute Nimrod thought that was a good idea! Probably one of those hopelessly addicted elderly folks glued to the penny slots. But aside from all that crap, the gameplay's actually pretty fun, all things considered. Shinra Electric Power Company would like to extend a friendly reminder that gambling is a proven psychologically addictive, self-destructive action manipulated by wealthy corporations taking advantage of your poor mathematics education. Please play responsibly. Most remasters nowadays are almost entirely about graphics, and luckily enough, Crisis Core Reunion recreated a large amount of the game's visuals to be on par with the FF7 remake series, and it actually works really well. Odd how these graphics seem to run fine on Switch, but the PS4 coughed and wheezed in FF7 remake if Cloud so much as looked at a door. Luckily, there is no weird pop-in, torn textures, or pixelated skyboxes. It seems simple to say, but I'm sure this was a massive undertaking bringing this outdated PSP game into the modern era, matching a new series aesthetic, and getting it to run smoothly on all modern platforms. Though the menus and UI still trip me up with odd placement and structure. Okay, yeah, the menus were so screwy, I actually neglected optimizing Zack for most of the game just to avoid using them. And if you're wondering about the original PSP game, it looks like a PSP game, but with expensive looking CG cutscenes filling out that UMD that you're forced to watch between every successful roulette wheel spin. Gotta sell Advent Children somehow. We already did the spoiler warning earlier, but I still feel inclined to mention, even though this game is a prequel to Final Fantasy VII, does not mean that you should play it before the main game. And from this point on, we're just gonna assume that you already know what we're talking about, or just don't care. So the purpose of Crisis Core is to add context to Zack, Cloud, and Sephiroth before the events of Final Fantasy VII begin, through lots of padding and a new villain who doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. And lots of fan service! Like, so much that it actually hurts the story. It's constantly referencing the main game, which, might I remind you, hasn't happened yet in continuity, and repeatedly comes off as awkward or confusing, rather than exciting callbacks, or call forwards? I don't get excited or nostalgic seeing Zack ride the train in the opening bombing mission, or fall through the roof of the church landing in the exact same flower bed Cloud will later, right next to Aerith, again. I feel like the writers genuinely couldn't come up with a single original thought to fill all this padding instead of lazy pandering. So this is one of those stories that'll absolutely hinge on you already being invested in the world and characters of Final Fantasy VII, aside from all of the shameless callbacks. Because the droning, corny dialogue certainly wouldn't hold any other sane human being for 15 hours. The story follows Zack Fair becoming a first-class soldier for Shinra, working alongside Sephiroth and his partner/mentor Angeal. Long story short, new villain Genesis breaks away from Soldier and the group hunts him down. Angeal and eventually Sephiroth also break away from Soldier due to them all realizing that Shinra had experimented on them with Genova cells, and because of this are now decaying at the molecular level. Outside of all the characters and exposition that's just packed in here just for the fans to go, oh, it's Aerith and Sung! The actual plot is just a simple excuse to add context to the base game scenes that needed no context. Like why Zack and Sephiroth headed to Nibelheim to research Shinra's sinister plan and basically burn the place down. Even NPC side quests are forcefully referencing and squeezing Zack into the base game as intrusively as Lion King 1.5 to its source material. Like this random dude who you help gather wood to build a bar in the slums of Midgar, which he lets Zack name, so of course it's Seventh Heaven. Like, what did this add to the story? You're just forcefully tying in every little redundant thing to Zack instead of actually writing a real story about the guy. That same guy has this hilarious line afterward about him sharing his wood with you, and it made me giggle, so there, it was justified. I suspect this game was only written just so the original's famous scenes would get redone with better graphics. No kidding, especially when the only original content comes in the form of disappointingly shallow new characters. Can't just say that, we've gotta back it up. Nah, I could just ignore all the context and quote a non-existent play for the remainder of this video instead. So Genesis is just Sephiroth again, but before Sephiroth, and seems to only speak in Loveless quotes, a play that you never actually see, only referenced in the background of the original's opening, and luckily we never see it because these quotes are all so unbelievably corny and overly dramatized that they always had me like, shut up!
All that awaits
Shut
you
up! I'm
is a
warning you!
somber morrow.
Angeal, however, might even be worse, only existing to pass down the Buster Sword to Zack. Whenever he has something to say, it's either way too much information about something that doesn't matter, or way too little on what does, or how important his honor is to him, even though he straight up betrays his friends and murders his own innocent mother.
What the hell did you do, Angeal? Is that your idea of honor?
So yeah, it's a cringy Kingdom Hearts level crime against writing. Genesis is a crappy villain recycled from Dirge of Cerberus who only diminishes what little story we got. Angeal is an unrelatable hypocrite with the face of a washboard, and the story in general only exists to add unnecessary context to a game that didn't even need it. But Nah, that's it. A lot of work was actually done in this regard for the remaster as well, with all new voices and music composed for the game just for the sake of consistency with FF7 Remake. Yeah, that's nice and all, but everything came to a screeching halt for me, all because of one instance near the end of the game. So I'm facing the final boss underprepared, and the battle music plays one time through during this long fight, and then just stops. And I had to play out the remainder of the fight in complete silence with nothing but sound effects for like 5 to 10 minutes. Now, I haven't seen a single person encounter this problem online, so either you got a 1 in a million glitch where your music couldn't loop, or you suck so bad at the game it didn't expect you to be fighting that long and nobody else ever encountered this problem. I fought a final boss for what felt like ages with nothing but the sounds of clanging metal and squeaky tennis shoes.
Yeah, that kinda sucks.
It was the funniest thing ever! I know that all sounded bad, but I swear, this game is actually still pretty good. It even totally justifies the DMW in its final scene, where Zack has to battle a hopelessly huge army of mooks until his death. The DMW doesn't spin normally to show his mental duress, but instead is completely fixated on Aerith. It's the only time where this mechanic is successfully utilized to see into the mind of a man who knows he's about to die. I don't know, it didn't really work on me, considering the only time I remember ever seeing the two do things together was building a flower wagon and buying a ribbon. Not actual character development, just pointless backstories to establish where Aerith got her ribbon and flower wagon. And I want to say that Zack's inevitable death scene was as powerful as it felt in the original, but it's paired up with this contrasting, goofy music as he floats into the sky after Angeal wishing for his wings. You know, because players are too dumb to pick on all this intense subtlety. His name was Angeal, for crying out loud. This game is so corny, it'll give you indigestion. That was so terrible, might just be the best way to describe it. The positive gamer in me had a good enough time with Crisis Core Reunion to rank it with a 6 out of 10. It's lucky it's a fun enough gameplay appetizer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because this mess of a story almost soiled the very game it sought out to idolize. The critical gamer in me found Crisis Core Reunion to be a disappointing 4 out of 10. I can't even say it's average when the very core of this game is in crisis. What? As if that stupid title even means anything. But what do you think? Let us know how your positive and critical sides rate. Let me get this right here. Crisis Core trademark Final Fantasy registered 7-Reunion in the comments below. How about you? Me? You're just playing with yourself. It doesn't even make any sense! Gone gaga. Okay, so I thought I'd be talking this time about how I got like a massive haircut because Kim and I thought, oh yeah, we have this long trimmer, it would look fine. It would probably save us a lot of time cutting my hair. And no, it was way shorter than we thought it was, but I think it's fine. What do you guys think? But no, the real thing bothering me for this episode is the fact that last night for dinner, I bit my tongue so hard that the front of it went numb and I thought I wouldn't be able to talk today. But instead this morning, I got the feeling back. Now it just hurts a lot. So I'm fighting through the pain trying to make this video on time. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more, and use the links in the description to nominate your own episode. And thank you to all of our Patreon members, Aspen, Arrow, Sid, Genio, and Laura. Booyah!